This is my case presentation on Saundra Santiago. This is a story of abuse. These are references that I used in researching the subject and researching appropriate therapies and theories to apply. Presenting issues are Saundra is being referred to services due to her admission at Safe Haven, secondary to domestic violence, perpetrated on her by her boyfriend. Saundra does have a trauma history of being sexually abused by her stepbrother. She's not able to support herself right now at her current job. She works part-time and does not make a whole lot of money. She also has a very negative outlook on life. She feels like her life is a living hell and doesn't have much hope that things can change. She felt unwanted by her mother. Her mother was also the victim of abuse, and she has little support and at times is ambivalent about leaving her abuser. Further information is that she's currently safe living at Safe Harbor. Her family is not supportive. The family condoned the sexual abuse of Saundra. Her mother experienced abuse as well. More about that particular situation. The sexual abuse was reported to the mother, who didn't believe her, but then she went to the stepfather, who then beat her. And the abuse continued for some time. At one point, during this whole situation, Saundra considered killing her mother, stepfather, and herself. Some positives is that Saundra is Catholic and draws on her faith as a strength, and she does have a friend who is supportive. Looking at good theories to use with Saundra, the first that I considered is narrative theory. Narrative theory proposes that we communicate it in a narrative way, telling stories and attaching meanings through this process. Multi-storied proposes that our stories can have multiple interpretations. Social construction is key in that beliefs are validated by society, furthering marginalization. And dominant narrative is the process by which oppression is reinforced by messages from the media, our families, and education. Narrative theory has four very interesting theories. People communicate about their lives through storytelling. The process of sharing a story allows the storytellers to attach meaning to their experiences. And helping clients alter the meaning they attach to experiences can be helpful. Externalization helps the client understand their experiences in more liberating ways. The strengths of this theory is the theory prompts clients to use storytelling to look at various interpretations of the story. This allows the social worker to address social construction and messages given by society, and social justice can be fostered through this theory. Limitations of narrative therapy is it is difficult to quantify narrative therapy as it does not fit in the empirically based practice model. It dissuades the use of labeling, thus making diagnosis irrelevant. And because of these limitations, it's hard to make this work in a managed care environment. In order to bill insurance, you typically have to have a diagnosis, and again, this theory proposes not to do this. The use of narrative therapy for Saundra could be effective. Another thing that she does do is she journals and she writes poetry, and read some poetry while she was meeting with the worker at the Safe Harbor shelter. This could be used to help her postulate a different story with a better ending. This also could help her to put her issues outside of herself in order to brainstorm another outcome. And the theory would also be helpful in normalizing her experiencing and understanding the impact that the media has placed on women. I think I spoke earlier to her family is also part of this situation, and she has taken on some of their negative beliefs. The second theory that I wanted to consider for Saundra was person-centered theory. This theory seeks to create change by exploring congruence and incongruence. Unconditional regard is also used to create a positive atmosphere, and empathy is shown by the social worker. Self-actualization is the goal of the theory. There are three principles that I'd like to discuss. First is personal and social problems occur when people are devalued. Think about your own situation in your life. When have you felt devalued as a result of social problems or personal issues? Change happens in the context of an authentic helping relationship. I have seen this in my current internship. When people sense that you are authentic and that you do want to help, they are more able to hear what you're saying. And people are capable of self-actualization when conditions allow positive growth and change. The strengths of person-centered therapy are many. But a few of these is the theory chimes well with our NASW goals. The theory values empathy and unconditional regard for the person, which is super important. This is a theory where client and social worker are on even ground. There is some unspoken views that the therapist is the expert, but that is really what you're working against in person-centered therapy. This is a useful therapy that cuts across cultures. Limitations of person-centered therapy are some people see it as simplistic. It doesn't provide clear guidelines or interventions. The challenges of this area are being able to address many possibilities. The core of the therapy is the context of the relationship between the social worker and the client to foster growth and change. So you have to be able to move on your feet, to listen, in your sessions with the person about their concerns, how they think they may be able to change things. And again, it really is about unconditional regard for her positives. The reasons to use person-centered therapy for Saundra is that she has limited support in her life. Developing a therapeutic relationship that focuses on unconditional positive regard will create a trust and possibly hope in Saundra, knowing that somebody does believe in her. Working on challenging negative evaluation of her life will be explored, looking at the incongruence of her Catholic faith and the way she has been treated by others. I think this will be really important if we can draw on stories from her faith and how people in the Bible or stories that she's heard in church really go against what she's experiencing in her abusive relationships. And we will also help educate Saundra about what self-actualization is and how working towards this will help increase her self-worth and value as an individual. My recommendations for Saundra is in reviewing these theories in application. I think both have value and would yield good results for her. I do think that I would choose the person-centered theory as it will foster her strengths and help her develop a relationship with a trusted person who has the best regard for her. Potential pitfalls of this approach would be over-reliance on the social worker to be her advocate. It will be important for her to connect with others who can be her advocate as well. And she will need to find her tribe, like using that word within the with the other safe harbor residents. These are serious potential pitfalls and really will have to be addressed.